जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम। उम्मीद है आप सब खैरियत से होंगे। वेलकम टू अनदर वीडियो ऑफ द चैनल द स्किल स्कूल। Although it was initially planned for intermediate students to impart the knowledge of soft skills and some technical skills that are necessary for them to flourish in their further university studies, but for the time being things are a little bit messy, so we are just going with the flow and covering the topics at hand. So our today's topic is selection of thesis title, or you can say how we can choose out of so many options that are available, that we will perform research on which topic. So today we will be discussing it, uh, and I will try my best to cover all the nitty-gritty details about it, so that you people, especially the second semester students, can effectively choose their research topics, uh, which are easy to you can say conduct, or more beneficial if we ignore the easy part for the time being. So the first thing is, what is a research problem? Because basically the purpose of every research, either it is in the field of food technology, agriculture, information technology, computer science, any other field, the basic purpose of research is to address a problem. The problem could be a research gap, a specific issue, or a concern by the you can say audience, by people, by consumers, or by you can say business owners. The research could address any kind of problem of all these classes of the society. So we firstly have to identify the problem, what kind of problem we are going to address, and then later on we specify it as per our resources, as per the available time, and as per the expertise of our team or our supervisor. So things get a little bit more specific with the passage of time, and then comes out the title of your research. So research problem we have discussed, it must be like the problem you are going to address must be relevant to your field. The problems mentioned here are from the field of agriculture and food technology. Specifically we will be discussing these two fields, so we can address post-harvest losses of any fruit, vegetable, or any other crop, or we can address the nutritional deficiencies of common people. The basic point here is our topic should be, or our problem should be relevant to our field. Then it must be specific and researchable. As I said before, we have to keep in account our available resources and time and expertise. So, keeping in account these things, our problem should be specific, so that we don't waste our time on irrelevant things, and it must also be researchable, manageable, or you can say doable. And feasible word is also suitable for this situation. Feasible within your resources and time, we have already discussed this point earlier on. Let's move forward. So problems comes from different you can say fields or different parts of the educational uh, you can say sector, or our overall you can say world. As I mentioned earlier, problem arise from every kind of field to any kind of individual, consumers, business owners, CEOs, or even researchers. Some researchers even address the problems or gaps of other researchers, so that's also research problem. So what are the sources of research problems? Number one is literature gaps. You were studying a specific book or a specific course, and you felt like this specific portion or this specific topic doesn't have the required piece of information, or it is not discussed in much detail as it should be. So that is the literature gap you need to address. Then field observation. You were on a field visit in your relevant area, in a village or in a remote area. If I talk about the agriculture background students, and you observed like our farmers are facing the soil salinity problem, or they are not getting the proper seed for their crops, or the seed they are using is of very good quality, but they don't really know the practices by which they can preserve their seed to make it available for the sowing period. Their seed is of very good quality and expensive, but it gets wasted before it could reach the sowing stage. So this is the problem you uh, saw in your local visit, and then you address it in your research. This is the second source of research problem. Third one is that the stakeholder, the farmer, the grower, the food processor, industry expert, or even a CEO or manager of a food industry comes to you that we need this kind of, you can say, sauce. We need this kind of equipment to perform this task, or we need this kind of variety so that we can get better yield of our crop. So that's the third point of input from your sources. And the fourth one is government or NGO based work. If we take the example of our university, then PKNC is a very good example, in which the government of Korea has invested to address the public health issue of Pakistan, and they are working at a very large scale in Pakistan with the help of our department NIFSAT. So you can help them address their problems, and that will ultimately be the uh, title for your thesis. So these are the multiple sources of your research problem. Then, by using these four resources, let's say you have identified a problem, I am going to address this. Now we have to evaluate, as we have discussed earlier, that our problem should be feasible, should be doable, should be specific. So now we will be evaluating if our problem is doable, or is it feasible for us within our resources and means and time, that we can address it or not. Because sometimes students select a topic that is of the level of postgraduate or PhD, and they don't have time or resources or expertise to address all of its factors or its, you can say, broad spectrum in the time period of 2 years of M.Sc. So the things get real messy at the end. So we have to evaluate our problem first, that if it is doable or even reasonable at the level of M.Sc. So, the first point is it novel or not over researched? We have to see that the thing we are uh, going to address is not already addressed by thousands of people, or it must be new, so that uh, people get curious about your research and they go for it, like that this person have done a remarkable job in addressing this problem, so let's see what he have done in this field or in this, you can say, specific criteria. So this is the first thing you have to evaluate. There shouldn't be multiple relevant research articles to your thesis. uh, it could happen that there are one or two articles but not exactly same to your research, uh, a little bit relevant, that could work. But if there are thousands or hundreds of articles, out of which some are even exactly similar to your research, then you are doing nothing, you are just copy pasting things from one website to other. Second is, does it contribute to knowledge or practice? This knowledge could be your own knowledge. This could be the knowledge of your relevant department or field. This could be the knowledge of that specific project that you are working in, that if you are contributing in it positively or not. And practice means the people learn from it some practical outcome and they use it to get practical benefit in agriculture fields, in food industries, and all other relevant departments. Can it be addressed? Again, same point. You have to assess it if it is doable within your means or not. Does it align with your department's focus area? Sometimes we see that the students of H&D are performing the research of or addressing the research problem of FT field just because their supervisor had said them to do so. They are doing this. So this is again a concerning point as far as our regular, you can say, university environment is concerned. Examples uh, we can address in agriculture or food tech field are mentioned here. You can see, and I truly believe that you can understand it what is mentioned here. So I will not explain it. I'm just giving a little bit of time for you people to assess it, and then I'll move forward. So how we can convert a problem into a title, which is the basic thing to do in our today's lecture, that we have to firstly identify a problem and then convert it into our thesis title. So this is the breakdown of 5 steps by which we can do so very easily. Firstly, identify the issue. So it could be, as mentioned here, high spoilage rate in tomatoes. It could be the low storage life of any sauce or mayonnaise or anything. It could be the bad texture of a jam specific. I hope you are getting the point. There could be many things you can consider from one single problem. So we have to identify which specific thing we are going to address. That is the second point, that narrow down the cause or context. uh, as I said earlier, there are multiple things we can uh, do or perform to address a specific problem. Then there are multiple ways by which that problem can be addressed. We even have to identify and specify that specific way by which we are going to address that problem. For example, we are talking about the low shelf life of a jam. So we can apply UHT treatment on it. We can preserve it by using some preservatives. We can preserve it by heating, or we can even uh, pack it in different kind of packaging. So we have to narrow down that the specific one problem that we have, which is the shelf life, low shelf life of jam, how we are going to address it. That will be the method by which you address it, and it should be specific. Like, for the time being, we will assess different kinds of packaging and see which one performs the best for our jam. So in this way, you will firstly narrow down the problem, and then you even narrow down the method you are going to use to address that problem. Then decide on the intervention, like in that specific way you are using to address the problem, what things you will be using. Like, is it just that you are packaging it in tin, or you can say airtight containers, or you are going even further towards advanced technologies like active packaging or biodegradable films or anything else. So that's again an important point in specifying your title. Then, when you have answer to these three things, you formulate your objectives, which comes like we are going to make or pack our given jam in this packaging to check if it is suitable to enhance the shelf life of the jam or not. Okay, so uh, those are your objectives. Then you formulate data from all of these four questions and you convert it into a title. Now that we have you can say somehow defined or created a title for our research, we will move towards how we can make our title work, that it is not too long, too you can say technical, too vague, or uh, any other problem that we can have with our titles. So these are the best practices we can follow to address or to even you can say make our titles look or feel better. First thing is keep it specific and clear. The thing about research writing which is very much important to keep in mind is that you don't have to feel like you are talking to researchers. There is a great chance that a simple layman from any part of the world could be reading your research article uh, because he had a certain problem with his crop and he happened to be able to use you can say Google Scholar, or he knows where I can find my solution to this specific problem. There is a very big chance that a simple uh, man from a non-technical background could be reading your research article or your thesis. So for that person, we have to keep things simple and easy to understand. So this first point emphasizes the importance of being clear and specific, and the second comes avoid jargon or overly technical terms. Sometimes students use uh, even that much technical terms that teachers have to ask what is the meaning of this, or is it even used in our field or not. So we have to be specific, clear, and use simple, easy to understand terms and words. Then include key variables. Your title must uh, tell the reader about the contents he is going to study in your specific title or your study. This is not much important about the scope or location. We can simply skip it if it is not. Like, location is important if we are conducting a specific research like the prevalence and treatment of a specific disease in, let's say, Lahore, Pakistan. So these kind of researches should be you can say location specified, otherwise there is not much need of location. Lastly, there is a point example mention of a title. We can break down it to see if the points mentioned above are properly visible here or not. Effect of biodegradable packaging films on the shelf life of tomatoes under humid conditions. Firstly, we see how they have specified the problem from a broader perspective. Shelf life of tomatoes. If the word mentioned here is vegetables, the scope is very much bigger. We cannot simply address it uh, as per its requirement. So we have to specify it by a crop which is tomato. And the specific problem we are going to discuss for the time being is shelf life, not the post harvest losses or anything else related to tomatoes or their high perishability. There are so many things we can address, but for the time being we are just focusing on shelf life and then there is another point specifying the topic, which is under humid conditions. We are not discussing it at refrigeration level, at normal room temperature, at you can say uh, field level. We are discussing it under just humid conditions, and then by which method we are going to address it, that is the biodegradable packaging films. So in this way you have to address your specify your research title to make it specific, doable, and easy to understand for others. Common mistakes to avoid and tips and tricks. Common mistakes, like the spectrum or scope of your study is too broad, as I mentioned earlier, that you are not discussing specifically tomatoes, but you are mentioning that we are going to study the shelf life of vegetables. So the uh, scope is very broad and you are just unable to address it within the time span of 2 years. Overly long or technical phrases in your title, that is not recommended. Titles that suggest results or conclusions, no. You have to you can say spark the curiosity of the reader, that uh, you just mention the problem in your title and the way you are going to address it. So that title will enlighten the curiosity of your reader, and he will move towards reading your research article or your thesis, and then the conclusion will tell him that what results have you got of that problem by using that specific method. You don't have to mention it in your title. And you must also not ignore the actual problem. Sometimes students do what, they simply mention what they understand a little bit about the problem, and just make sure things are just flowing, you can say go with the flow thing. But the actual thing is, you are not doing it just for the sake of your degree, you are doing it to add or contribute to the knowledge and practice. So keeping this point in mind, you have to do things very professionally and very in a appropriate way. That's why I am covering all these things which might seem unimportant to you people, but if you have got a chance in life to do such a thing, I would recommend that you do it by the book. You give your best and you try to learn as much as you can from this opportunity, so that whenever in future life presents you with a similar responsibility, you are not just a beginner in that thing or just clueless about how things work, or how you are going to select a topic or do research or apply statistics or do a scientific write up. These things shouldn't be new for you at that time. Tips and tricks could be like start from your field work or lab exposure. It's in front of you, just read it and you can do whatever you want. जी, तो पहले बात हो गई discussion about selecting a problem and title. Now we are going to discuss कि actually होता क्या है. हमने देख लिया कि प्रॉब्लम किस तरह हमने किन किन सोर्सेज से आ सकती है, उसको किस तरह हमने एक डूएबल, एक यू कैन से फिजिबल टाइटल में कन्वर्ट करना है. बट द रियलिटी इज टोटली डिफरेंट फ्रॉम इट. लाइक यू go to lab a specific day in your life, you can say, और आपको एक टाइटल थमा दिया जाता है फ्रॉम योर सीनियर और योर सुपरवाइज़र कि भाई ये मेरा प्रोजेक्ट चल रहा है, ये मेरा लेट से सोयाबीन पे है, ये मेरा मैंगो पे है, किसी चीज़ पे है, तो तुमने इससे कोई प्रोडक्ट बना के लानी है. ठीक है, वो मतलब हमारे लिए क्या होता है कि हमें मेहनत नहीं करनी पड़ती टाइटल पे, हम खुशी खुशी वो चूज़ कर लेते हैं। बट द रियल स्टोरी बिगिंस लेटर ऑन, जब हम अकेले ही उस पर काम कर रहे होते हैं, ना कोई बताने वाला होता है, और जो बताने वाले होते भी हैं उनको भी उस तरह का पता नहीं होता। फर्स्ट थिंग। सेकंड थिंग इज़ कि कहा जाता है जी पुराने वाले कोई ना 4-5 थीसिस देखो, उनमें से कोई आयन गायन करके मिला के कोई टाइटल बना लो। फॉर एग्जांपल कि आपकी लैब में कोई सीनियर था लास्ट बैच में, उसने बनाया बनाना जैम बाय द एडिशन ऑफ चिया सीड्स, तो आप बना दें जी एप्पल जैम बाय द एडिशन ऑफ चिया सीड्स, या आप बनाना जैम ही बनाएं बाय द एडिशन ऑफ चिया सीड्स, और उसके साथ आप उसमें एप्पल ऐड कर दें कि मिक्स फ्रूट जैम हो गया जी बाय द एडिशन ऑफ चिया सीड। ठीक, दो चीज़ें हो गई। तीसरी ये होती है कि कोई सीनियर ऑलरेडी अपनी पीएचडी की रिसर्च परफॉर्म कर रहा है, वो आपको साथ लगा लेता है कि भाई दोनों का फ़ायदा हो जाएगा, आ जाओ मैं आपकी हेल्प करूँगा, आप मेरी करना, और हम जो है ना वो भाई भाई दोनों बड़ा अच्छा काम करेंगे। लेकिन वो भाई भाई हफ्ते बाद वो भाई दूसरे जो हैं वो गायब हो जाते हैं और आप अकेले रह जाते हैं। सो दीज आर द थिंग्स विच आई थिंक शुडेंट बी मैंशनड हियर, लेकिन फिर भी आई थिंक इट्स माई रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, अगर मैं इस चीज़ को डिस्कस कर रहा हूँ तो मैं रियलिटी भी आप लोगों को बताऊँ, ताकि कल को आपके लिए उस चीज़ को डाइजेस्ट करना और देन उसके अकॉर्डिंगली रिस्पॉन्ड करना आपके लिए ईजी हो। सो ये थी रियलिटी टॉपिक सिलेक्शन की। पहले हम थे फैंटेसी में, ये है रियलिटी। अब हम एक तीसरी चीज़ की तरफ चलते हैं विच इज़ पर्सनल चॉइस, एज आई से टू बी, कि हमें पता है सिस्टम भी नहीं ठीक, हमें पता है हमें बताने वाला कोई नहीं, हमें पता है हमारे पास रिसोर्सेज नहीं है, हमें पता है कि नो बडी विल सी वट वी हैव डन, कोई हमारा थीसिस नहीं पढ़ेगा, कोई चेक नहीं करेगा, कोई कुछ नहीं करेगा। देन व्हाट डू, आपका दिमाग आपको कहेगा कि मगरो लाओ काम मुकाओ कर जाओ, ठीक है, विच इज़ अ नेचुरल रिस्पॉन्स। लेकिन आई वुड सजेस्ट, जैसे मैंने पहले कहा, कि अगर लाइफ ने आपको मौका दिया है ना, तो कोशिश करें कि उससे कुछ सीखें। भरे पड़े हैं लोग, मेरी कॉन्टैक्ट लिस्ट में को 20 से ज़्यादा लोग हैं जो तैयार बैठे हैं आपको सेड अमाउंट के ऊपर थीसिस लिख के देने के लिए, ठीक है। आप मुझे कहें, मैं कॉन्टैक्ट शेयर करता हूँ, वो आपको थीसिस लिख देंगे, डेट्स इट, रिसर्च हो गई, डिग्री हो गई, घर जाएं। बट द थिंग इज़ कि इट वॉज योर अपॉर्चुनिटी टू लर्न। क्या आपने उसको अवेल किया? क्या आपने उससे कुछ सीखा? क्या आपने कोशिश की कि देखें, घर से तो कोई भी सीख के नहीं आया कि थीसिस कैसे लिखते हैं, सिनॉप्सिस कैसे लिखते हैं, सेमिनार की प्रेजेंटेशन कैसे देते हैं, स्टैट कैसे लगाते हैं, एसपीएसएस क्या है, मिनी टैब क्या है, स्टैटिस्टिक्स 8.1 क्या है। कोई भी घर से नहीं सीख के आया, कोई भी ऊपर से नहीं सीख के आया। सब के ऊपर जब ये मुश्किल पड़ी, जब उनके ऊपर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी आई कि आपने अब थीसिस लिखना है, तो उन्होंने किया, और जब उन्होंने अपना किया तो उनको एक रास्ता पता चल गया। अब जो बंदा एक दफ़ा एक जगह से गुजर जाए तो वो दूसरी दफ़ा तो आंखें बंद करके गुजर सकता है कि इस रास्ते के ऊपर किस जगह खड्डा है, किस जगह नहीं है, क्या मामलात हैं। तो उनके लिए तो बाएं हाथ का खेल है। लेकिन आप लोग अपनी अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ ज़ाया करेंगे। उन्होंने सीख लिया, फॉर द टाइम बीइंग वो फाइनेंशियल फ़ायदा ले रहे हैं अपने उस सीखने से, लेकिन इन फ्यूचर अगर उनको अपॉर्चुनिटी मिलती है कि वो कहीं लेक्चरर लगते हैं, वो कहीं किसी टीचिंग कैपेसिटी में जाते हैं, या इस बेस के ऊपर वो अपने को 2-3 आर्टिकल पब्लिश करवा के तो वो पीएचडी की स्कॉलरशिप लेके आउट ऑफ कंट्री जाते हैं, तो वालेकुम सलाम, उसमें उनका क्या, सॉरी, आपका क्या फ़ायदा हुआ? उन्हें तो काम आता था, उन्होंने कर लिया, लेकिन आपने क्या सीखा और आपने क्या किया? सो ये स्लाइड मैंने जानबूझकर और इसीलिए ऐड की कि भाई अगर मौका मिल रहा है तो उसको ज़ाया ना करें। ठीक है, आपकी पेस सीखने की दूसरों से कम हो सकती है, आपको चीज़ें जल्दी समझ नहीं आती, आपको बताने वाला कोई नहीं है, 100 मसले हो सकते हैं, ठीक है, तो उनको एड्रेस करना चाहिए। सारे ना हों, जितने हो सके उनको लाजमी करना चाहिए। लाइक इफ़ यू आर वेरी स्लो और आप सारा कुछ नहीं 2-4 माह में सीख के थीसिस लिख सकते, तो कम से कम कोई एक पार्ट लाइक राइटअप है, स्टैट एप्लीकेशन है, डेटा कंपाइलिंग है, एक्सेल का यूज़ है, ये सारा कुछ तो इसमें से सीख सकते हो। अगर कोई 4 काम है उनमें से 2-3 तो सीख सकते हो। तो मेरी ये रिक्वेस्ट है आप लोगों से, सजेशन है कि मैं ना भी बताऊँ ये चीज़ें, हमसे पहलों की भी होती आई हैं, हमसे बाद वालों की भी होती रहनी है डिग्रियाँ। लोग आते हैं, चले जाते हैं वो पीस ऑफ पेपर लेके, लेकिन द थिंग टू डू दिस एफर्ट एंड द थॉट बिहाइंड इज़ कि यार मौका मिला है तो कुछ मीनिंगफुल कर जाओ। फॉर द टाइम बीइंग किसी और के लिए नहीं तो कम से कम अपने लिए कर जाओ। दैट्स ऑल फ्रॉम माई साइड।